Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Air Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I'll hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
I'm watching this video. I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. Okay, so he just put this up the 17th. Now, he's claiming they fucked up the lunar eclipse also. So he's got this video out about the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse that we've been talking about since the 11th. And I'm thinking, now, where did he get this information from, right? So I go check his channel, and he hadn't done anything like this before. As a matter of fact, the one video before that video, it was just him talking about the lunar eclipse. It was just showing the lunar eclipse, not even talking. And then all of a sudden, he probably saw what we were doing over here. I don't know how. And looked into it and then decided, hey, let me look at that lunar eclipse. And he looked at the lunar eclipse and figured that wasn't right either. So that was supposed to be a total eclipse. It wasn't. So then the next thing you know, I'm seeing this comment from BLMX, Swan dude. He's saying, discussed on Globebusters. So I went on Globebusters. I went through. I got into like 17 minutes real quick, and he starts playing this video. So then now the Globebusters are talking about it, and I found that really crazy. Now, has anybody looked into trying to find this Ring of Fire? Because I have not stopped. I have found some stuff. And I've also, okay, there's a video out from Cambridge, right? Cambridge University. So they supposedly had a camera over in Canada also. Now, why NASA didn't have this for $62 million a day, I don't know. So I'm looking at this video, and it seems to show the Ring of Fire, but it doesn't last very long, right? So I'm thinking, wait a minute. They said that fucking thing lasted 4.5 minutes. So I went back to the page that I read to you before about this being seen for 30 minutes from above the clouds in a plane. And the article was there, but that part of the article was removed, including the frickin' picture. They literally removed their statement and removed the picture that they posted they had as the Ring of Fire. So now,
the first time,
instead of me taking a screenshot like I should have, I can't even prove what they wrote, except for I read it to you guys and it's recorded. So there's a lot of fishy shit going on because there's video out there that's definitely faked. This is getting real interesting. I had no idea this was good. All I wanted to do was see the Ring of Fire because I wanted to see if I could see the moon before or after. I'm always trying to see it because you never do. That's all I wanted to do. And now this.
Sorry, I just caught the tail
Sounds
end of this
good.
conversation. Did you know Mitchell from Australia had made a video about it a couple of days after you?
Yep.
That's what I was just talking about.
Oh, sorry, I
It was
didn't
on
realise that was what you were
Goldbuster,
talking
yeah.
about. Okay, so yeah, that Mitchell from Australia, I saw it and was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, I talked about it the 11th. He talked about it the 17th. He had no prior anything about it, so he definitely got it from here.
Not necessarily.
Well, maybe not, but I think so because I think he heard what I was saying, what we were saying, and I think because he already had a video up about the lunar eclipse. I was just telling Neil, and I think he went back and decided to look at that lunar eclipse a little closer because he's never done anything like this on his page. I checked it. So I think he went back on that lunar eclipse and went, "Oh my God, you know, chain or something went off in his head," and was like, "God damn it!" So I'm going to make a video on both of these things now. So now we got the lunar eclipse was a failure, and this Ring of Fire is not real convincing stuff I've seen, and nobody else has even produced a video for me. So
What's the Ring of Fire? What are you calling the Ring of Fire?
Totality.
the totality that the moon isn't close enough or far enough away from the sun to have a total eclipse, so it creates that Ring of Fire.
The total eclipse, basically.
It,
The little
it's
piece
not
of
total though.
outshine,
The Ring of Fire.
the corona.
That's a total eclipse.
To see,
You just see the corona.
put a picture in there for me, because I mean, to see it glow on the edge is to see it glow on the edge. I don't know which one you're referring to. I don't know.
Where you see a circle, literally a circle, not like the
The circle of light, right?
total eclipse. Yeah,
Yeah.
circle.
Put a picture of what you're talking about
Yeah,
there.
like a ring. Yeah, okay, hold on.
Exactly as the
I mean,
name
I
suggests.
understand what you're saying, but just put a picture so I can get an image. So, you know.
Right there.
It's what it says, Ring of Fire.
That is the picture that they removed from that article. This is getting real weird. And I'm very surprised nobody has come up with this Cambridge footage. I'm very surprised. There's actually a couple videos out there, but they may have noticed that there's some trickery going on, like I did. So maybe they were afraid to post that. But it's real weird that they didn't find the Cambridge video. Cambridge University. All of a sudden, my God, I couldn't stop finding them. Like I got a playlist of 67 videos now. I had a playlist of 5. All of a sudden on Saturday, it was shit like it was coming out of the woodwork.
I was saying you would think that NASA would have something, no? I mean, a Ring of Fire, that's an event. How come NASA's not putting nothing out?
That's what I said. They claim to have been too far south to get the whole Ring of Fire. I'm thinking $62 million a day. And you can't set up to get the fucking Ring of Fire? Wait,
So-
you have satellites, don't
That's
you?
the fourth F you said.
you kidding
with
me?
Your language.
It's a lot of gas money to get to Canada.
Yeah.
What about all the satellites they supposedly have? Can't one of them take a picture of a Ring of Fire?
Where are
Come
they?
on.
Where are
In a
they, Neil?
violation of space.
Where are they?
On balloons.
They are in a violation of secular thermodynamics.
Oh, well, they're not getting pictures
so
from them
the
then,
place
are they?
is fake.
Yeah, they're not getting pictures from them.
It's actually
They
very
could've
simple.
used the
The reason they
plane.
can't get it is because they're lying their ass off. Everything didn't have enough time to make the CGI.
Well, it's not that you'd need to make CGI for a Ring of Fire. It's just something that people would be observing in the locations that the heliocentric model predicted they'd be making them. Now, this isn't to say that if you're a heliocentrist, you can't just use this to affirm the consequent and say if the Earth's a sphere and we are on a heliocentric model, then we will observe this blocking that at this particular time. And what do you know? We observe my assumption that we're in a heliocentric model with this block in that at this particular time. Therefore, we're in a heliocentric model and affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. Nevertheless, at the stage we're at, we've got if P then Q, but the Q is the eclipse. And they haven't got the Q to then affirm the consequent by way of saying, therefore, my model. Because as far as it seems, they didn't actually pan out their prediction with their model. Now, like I say, even if they did tally it up, it would just be used to affirm the consequent. However, if it doesn't, then their model's broken. Not that their model proves we're on a sphere, but their model's broken, which is interesting.
Yep. And it's supposed
Yeah,
to
well,
be
their model is
so
definitely
perfect that it
broken. If
can.
you watch that video
I mean-
from Mitchell from Australia, he starts out with the lunar eclipse. Wasn't total
Yeah, I
like
mean-
it was supposed to be. And by the way, I
Yeah, I
went to the
mean-
page and took a screenshot in case they decide to change that. So now I'm taking screenshots of everything. Because I can't
Yeah,
believe
I
they
mean, if
pulled
you-
that fucking picture. Excuse me. They pulled
Flatfoot,
that
you're
picture.
just going to
and
have to wait till he finishes.
and
He's
that
just
whole
muttering
statement.
through every second sentence of his.
Sorry, I thought it was finished. That's why.
What? Well, it's in the middle of a sentence. Come on.
No, it sounded like he was finished. Sorry.
You both got a delay. Must be.
I don't know what's up with this delay because, especially right now, I just restarted everything and there's nothing up except for this page.
It seems
And
fine in my end as well. Everything seems fine.
Mm.
It's maybe a microsecond delay, but nothing late. No massive latency as far as I can tell. Anyway, it's just when I come to edit
but-
these videos, if I've got someone like yourself, Flatsoid, muttering through the person that's trying to make a point, I just have to edit it out. Therefore, every word he's saying is basically lost to you going, yeah, through the top of him.
You guys finished now?
No, he was in the middle of it, and I had to tell you to stop interrupting. So, like I say, I'll hope he'll reiterate his point without interruption, so it can be edited out potentially later.
yeah, I forget now.
Go ahead, Flatsoid.
I know one thing that's funny.
Don't say you
One thing's
forgot.
funny,
Oh,
right?
God. You can't just say I've forgotten and then carry on. Obviously,
I
it's not
forget what
true.
I was talking about, but I'm going to say something about this dude Flatsoid. Okay.
No, don't.
'Cause
Please.
I,
No, just don't.
Yeah. Because I subbed to him, right? Because isn't that I forget why I subbed to him.
Because he's ace. That's why.
Is that why?
Yeah, cool.
At least he
puts-
hasn't gone.
puts
nuts
out
about
good
it.
material.
All right.
So long as it's not a personal attack, go ahead.
Anyway, yeah, it's not a personal attack.
Fine.
I was just saying that I subscribed to him because you probably said subscribe to him. You're doing that a lot lately. And half these people I end up unsubscribing to anyway because, like Arwen, I was on Arwen's show this morning typing some stuff and he was giving me a hard time. So I was like, fuck you, and I left. Yeah, I'd say that. But
That's the fifth
what
one
are you
you
talking
said,
about? Because I was answering his question.
But thank you. Did you want to make a point, Flatsoid? But thank you anyway. Harp. Flatsoid, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, if their model was so perfectly to predict things that they claim to the nanosecond, then why can't they predict such a simple eclipse?
It's only a model. It's a reification fallacy to assume that it was right in the first place. If people appreciate that it's just a model, if it got it a bit wrong, like the astrophysicist that Wakey Wakey interviewed, you just go, oh, well, if we get it wrong, then the model needs adjustment. Obviously, reality is never going to change. Our reality was no eclipse on that day. So what? Doesn't matter. Unless you're putting all your eggs in one basket and going, that's the world we live in, and it will get it right. What are you fundies going to do when you don't have a prediction for this eclipse we didn't see, that we got wrong? Well, I don't care. It doesn't change my worldview what the stars do at any given time. It doesn't change anything for me. For you guys, it's absolutely fundamental to your premise that the world is your model. That's a globe model. Now, for me, that's not a concern. For you, it's suddenly a big problem because we're going to be highlighting it because it seems like you've got nothing other than hiding the fakery that you presumably had lazy reporters going out and going, I can't find one from that date. I'll just use this one. No one will notice because there'll be loads of them. And then suddenly they go, oh crap, there's none of them. So suddenly I'm the only fraud out there. I better get it off the line quick, sharp, lively. Hope no one screen capped it. Well, that's not a good position to be in when you've got 52 million a day being pumped into mere observations and declarations about the lights in the sky, which apparently you've predicted to the second. And yet we didn't have an eclipse when you said you would. Yeah, it doesn't disprove anything, doesn't prove anything, other than causing pain to fundies that have got a reification fallacy and think they live on a globe model.
Doesn't it become a Mona's ponens when the affirming the consequent fails?
I see what you mean. If the Earth's a sphere in the heliocentric model, then you would have the eclipse as thus, and then you show how they predicted it for that date, 10th June 2021. And then no eclipse as per the model, then no heliocentric model. Yeah, it does. You're right. You can have that.
John is ace. John is ace.
Well, it's supposed
About
to
that
prove
wakey
that
wake
they
about- hold
understand
on,
the
let me-
orbits, right?
So again, Harp.
I was saying that this is supposed to prove their orbits.
No, nothing
What-
proves orbits. Orbits is a
Busters
begging
was
the question
discussing
fallacy.
yesterday.
No, it doesn't prove orbits. Unless you affirm the consequent with a begging the question fallacy of orbits. Orbits is a begging the question fallacy in and of itself. And to affirm the consequent with a begging the
Well,
question of orbits doesn't prove anything.
Well, see, most of these Globers, this is what they say. We understand this because we understand how to predict the orbits, and this is how it works. Then again, if they have ever tried it themselves, they can't get past 3-body or however that works, because I've never really looked into that. But on Globebusters yesterday, they were talking about the Saros, and then Widget jumps in and he says, yeah, but I can understand what he's saying because this is disproving what they think their orbits are doing. And he said, the same exact thing, and they can't get past a 3-body system. So, they discussed it on Globebusters yesterday. Of course, they didn't discuss what we were discussing. They discussed what Mitchell from Australia, because, see, this is what I mean. You tell me they didn't know we were talking about this the day after? Get the fuck out of here.
I didn't say anything. What are you talking about? Don't answer.
Anyway, can I
Whoever
say something
said
about the wakey
It's
wakey?
not necessarily.
About wakey wakey what?
I was going to say that was interesting, that whole interview. She was agreeing with him and listening intently until she found out he was a flat earther.
Yeah, that personal prejudice isn't the thing I'd focus on. The thing I'd focus on is the fact that when he identified problems in a very nonchalant way while she considered him to be on her side, so to speak, she said, well, it just needs to be adjusted then. In other words, no big deal. We got it wrong. Well, we'll just change the model. Because you can change models like that. Well, yeah. But when you reify them into the worldview that you take and make the ground you stand on curved, then things must happen as per the model and sometimes they don't. Now, if you realise that it's just a model and you don't reify it, you haven't got a problem with that. You go, okay, so that model didn't work quite well. Maybe there's other models that predicted how it would work and they got it right. Does it mean we're on those models? Well, not unless you stack them up in false dichotomy, it doesn't. Just means that another model got it better and someone else was more observant when they predicted what was going to happen or when they were watching the patterns the last time. That's all it means. But it's not actually a prediction. It's not actually proof of anything. A prediction in science would be to predict what's going to cause an effect. That would be to vary an independent variable. This is just watching patterns. And the patterns have then been formed into a model, and presumably somewhere along the line they've got it wrong. Well, that's amusing to me. But if they came back tomorrow and said, look, we have actually got it, there was some particular area that just wasn't cloud covered. Here you go, look, they got the ring of fire for a few seconds because it was cloudy, but there it is. I'd go, okay, that's wonderful. How does this prove a sphere? And off they'd go saying, well, if we see the eclipse on a heliocentric model, then it's a heliocentric model. They'll just affirm the consequent. That's all they'll do.
I may be wrong about it being modus ponens. I think it might be modus tollens.
I heard you say modus tollens. It's the same as the black swan argument if it fails.
Okay, yeah, modus tollens. That's what I meant.
Better be careful with that, Nathan. Nat might come on and say you're making this stuff up, modus tollens.
Yeah, somebody in the comments pointed out that to say that something doesn't exist because you've never heard of it is an argument from incredulity. I'm sorry, whoever you were in the comments that pointed that out to me. I've racked my brain and I'm sure I remember who it was. Might have been Banter. I can't remember. It was certainly one of my members or Patreons.
You know what the funny thing is? I didn't know any of these things till I started listening to this channel. I had no idea what any of these terminologies meant. And now that I do know what they mean, I hear it all over the place. I hear it on the news. I hear it on the political debates. That begs the question. You even heard Dunning-Kruger and all of that other stuff on these political shows. So I really don't know which end she's coming from. She must really be dumb.
You don't want to necessarily hear them identify the fallacy and go, I recognise that identification of a fallacy. The trick is to identify the fallacy as it's being utilised, as opposed to identify a fallacy you've heard of. Now, in that instance, with whatever her name was, Napsternaut, she just never heard of it. So she's never going to identify it. So, from her standpoint, it's like, well, it doesn't exist then. As I say, an argument from incredulity fallacy. There we go. Very amusing. But the point is, when you hear these, I mean, I grew up, part of my education was logic-based, so, I mean, fallacies weren't unfamiliar to me when I got here. I wasn't, like, super sharp on them, but I picked it up real quick when watching JLB, and he gave me, like, a refresher course. And when he was talking about it, he was explaining, this is John LeBon, he was explaining that nobody has this sort of understanding and appreciation of logic. I was like, but weren't we all taught it in school? And then I later found out that no, I was taught it in school because I went to a private school for a period of time. And after that school closed down, I went into a comprehensive school, but because I wagged off and just smoked a lot of pot and didn't really do much of the actual education, still got a good grade, I didn't really take into the fact that it was a very different education structure in a comprehensive school. It's only after the fact that I've learnt that. But no, most people don't get a logic-based education, so they don't recognise logical fallacy when it's employed. I think I'm going to go as far as to say that's intentional in a comprehensive education system, because that's not really what you want. You're not developing thinkers, are you? You're developing workers in a comprehensive education structure.
I think in the States, Nathan, I think you get all of that when you go to college. I was listening to this one guy's some political show I watch, and he was saying that in college he learned the modus tollens and modus tollens, however you say them.
Maybe if you're on the debating team, which particular branch of education do you feel would teach you logical fallacy?
No, I'm just saying that's what he said, that he got all of that in college. Because I don't ever remember hearing of it in high school.
Well, what did he
I didn't
study?
go to college, so
What did he study, though?
I have no clue.
You should have asked. I mean, if it's sociology or psychology or something like that, some discipline that's related in some way, I'd understand that. But, you know, it's not that you just go to...
sociology, won't that teach you? Won't sociology teach you the different...
Probably because he was an ex-cop, and now he's political. Now he's in politics, so he's on. He actually took over the radio show. There was a famous radio guy. He just died of cancer. What was his name? Oh, geez, I can't remember.
Oh, I know.
Big-time radio guy.
I have no idea, Neil.
I'll think of his name, but I can't think of it right now. But he took his radio show over. He
Rush
was
Limbaugh?
international. Yeah. What's his name? Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. So he talks about all of this stuff constantly. Dunning-Kruger and begging the question. Dan Bongino is his name. So I couldn't ask him because it's a radio show.
Fair enough. Yeah,
That's why
I got a brush up from John LeBon, and then obviously Quantum Eraser was well versed in fallacy, and he polished up my understanding of fallacy to a high standard after being taught it in school, reinformed, or however you want to put it, by John LeBon, and then, like I say, polished up by Quantum Eraser. So I've had a lot of help.
Yeah, QE was that old guy in college.
I don't remember getting any education in logic in my years in school.
No, you wouldn't have if you had a comprehensive education.
No, it was, yeah, public school. Yeah.
Well, state school, yeah. Public school here means
Yeah.
private. As strange as that might sound.
You were just getting like a major echo, Randy.
But it should be one of the first things you get taught, you know, basic rules of logic, logical thinking.
Major echo going on.
Just put some headphones on, turn your speakers down.
Yeah, I'm not getting it, so I don't know where you're at, Up.
Is that better now?
Yeah, just all of you
Yeah.
need to mute if you're not talking. That's how you stop it.
That's correct.
Oh, I'm muting from my mic, so
Yeah, that doesn't work for some reason. If you mute in Discord, that's the only solution. If you keep your line open in Discord and mute your mic, it still sometimes causes issues. I don't know why. It's just one of those things. Sometimes you'll hear it on Ballbusters. QE will go mic discipline, and me and Arwin will be on line mic or mic mute if you want. And I'll look over to the screen and see, like now, you can see Nathan Oakley flashing in Discord. But that'll happen even if my mic's on mute. So it's a pain in the ass actually after during Ballbusters go in and actually physically mute my line in the computer, which is a complete pain in the ass.
What's up, Chocolate?
Hey, Chocolate.
Hey, Chucky.
Good morning. What's going on, everybody?
Nothing. Chilling.
Chilling like a pillow?
You gelling?
Don't go there, man. With the jealous.
Stop grinding his hooves.
I'm gelling. You gel.
Nathan's starting.
If the shoe fits, you're gelling.
I've still got another minute.
Neil, what's wrong?
Just gotta say, I just yesterday listened to the episode with the girl.
With naps.
Oh my god. Yeah.
There's
she needs
really
proper
something wrong with that.
congratulations.
There's really something wrong with that chick.
You don't say.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, Then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Neil Chocolate, 10th Man, father of a stolen child, Flatzoid. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. A whole bunch of people in Discord as well. So welcome one and all.
Morning, morning.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hey, good morning.
Hello.
Yo.
Hello, hello. Welcome one and all. Good to have you all. Nice and enthusiastic on this bright morning we have. Any evidence of a molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Hell no.
That argument melted away a long time ago.
Oh, Flatside with one.
He's up in his game with his dad jokes.
Well, my wife is in labor now, so I'm literally just waiting for my lift.
That's it. Got to get the rehearsal in.
Oh, that's awesome. She's in labor right now.
Yep.
Where are you?
Congrats.
Me, I'm 4 hours away.
Really?
Yeah.
Hello, guys.
Hey, Owen.
Hey, Owen.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Talking of distances away from things.
What is the sun, first of all?
Don't know.
Would it have to be physical to have actual distance?
Yes.
The thing it could
Wait
be
a
on could be
second.
No, not necessarily. If you imagine a
Oh,
torch
that's-
shining a light on something on the ceiling, well, you could measure the torch light, even though you wouldn't necessarily class it as a physical thing as it moves across the ceiling. But you could still measure a distance to it. But you'd have to ascertain what it was first, not necessarily ascertain that it's physical.
Maybe reformulate physical in origin.
Can maybe
'Cause
tangible.
that is a reflection. If you would shine a light on the ceiling, that's a reflection, basically. It's because it's still coming from somewhere physically.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, we can speculate all day about what the sun is, and whether or not we can acquire distances to it, physical or otherwise. But have we got one? That's all I'm asking.
No.
We got the sun, but we don't have a distance to it. That's just conjecture.
We only have an apparent distance.
Okie dokie.
But it's got to be doing something because it gives off heat. So it has to be something.
Does
It
it?
can't just be a reflection.
Hey, see, Arwen
It
and I...
has to do something.
Hold on. Just let Arwen ask the question, because Arwen and I disagree with you there when you say the sun gives off light. Now, it seems that way, but again, if you had light emanating from an area, and that area happened to get hot, the area might be getting hot, and therefore, what's heating that area that is bright, i.e. in this instance the sun, could have something else producing the heat that's making that bright light. In other words, to say that it is the cause of it is very assumptive.
No, but I'm saying if you go to the beach, you get a suntan from the sun, correct? So the
No.
sun is giving off its heat, no?
No, not
No.
if I went out for several hours in the morning while the sun was low, right? Low and looking big, then not necessarily. When it's high in the sky and like a much smaller sun relative to the atmospheric interference that you get when it's low, then you do. But it depends on when you're out when the sun's out. So no, not necessarily.
So that makes it even more intriguing to me. What the heck is it then? And how does it do what it does?
We don't know. That's the point. We highlight that by asking for the distance to it. Because they think they know.
How
Hey, give me
does-
$62 million. I'll go find out for you.
Oh, what about 52 million a day?
Yeah.
Well,
Pretty
Neil,
nice budget.
Chocolate?
Oh.
Just remember to go at night so it doesn't burn you, okay?
Yes, definitely at night.
See, there you go. He just said so it doesn't burn you.
Yeah, he
Well,
also
if
said to visit
the
the sun at
sun-
night. Clearly, the irony of the first statement was lost by the way of him assuming its physical nature in the second statement. Do you want to repeat the first statement, Flatsoid, just so Neil doesn't miss the irony?
Please go at night so it doesn't burn you.
Waits for
But
Neil's
it's still gonna
reaction.
burn you.
Go at night. Oh, let's move on.
Go at night. Neil.
Spoke. Oh, I get it.
understand, but
Spoke
you're
like on
still
a wheel.
claiming that it'll burn you.
But it, not daylight, sunlight burns you, not that thing up there.
He gets it. He's just not moving away from Flatsoid's physical
thing.
assumption bias
Is that a
stated by
physical assumption bias.
yeah, it's Flatsoid's physical assumption bias. Neil's right, so he's not going to let it go. Rightly so.
The phenomenon.
Just have to clear things up.
How
That's
dare
not
you
my
assume
physical assumption
physicality?
bias.
How dare you, Flatsoid, assume it's physicality to make a joke? It's just not on.
Man.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
That was debunked by the Black Swan. Am I right about that?
You haven't been wrong about much recently, Neil. I don't know why you would suggest that you would be wrong about it.
That's a pretty big deal if you think you live on a sphere.
Yeah, well, we definitely don't have a physical curve since even the opposition is detailing perspective for us the whole time.
Yeah, that's nuts. I saw your video. This is why we all subscribe to Flatsoid Harp, because he's highlighting things like a guy that's detailing the effects of perspective that are not in the Earth curve maths, and arguing back and forth with the flat earther about how perspective works when it doesn't work when you ascribe feet and inches values that don't change with distance. So that's why, because it's epic watching them argue for our position. You know, at some point someone's going to tap them on the shoulder and go, okay, that's fascinating demonstrations of perspective you've got going on there. Wow, you're really educated. Where's this in Earth curve maths? Things get smaller into the distance in your Earth curve maths, do they? Oh, it doesn't. Now spend the same amount of time explaining why you don't put this effect you've educated us in so brilliantly. In most cases not. But there we go. I see in them now the same standard as we put out, me personally included, back 3 whatever it was years ago when we were arguing about the Isle of Man. And we were saying, look, your calculator doesn't account for perspective. This is how perspective makes stuff look smaller. So we're using perspective to argue against their begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. And we'd only just started looking into it. So our standards weren't very high. Fast forward 3 years, and it's not us putting the argument of perspective, which isn't in their Earth curve maths. It's them. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. It's brilliant. Thank you for that video, by the way, Flatsoid. It was epic. Subscribe today to Flatsoid.
We talking
Well,
about
they're
the guy
catching
with
up.
the little car.
Yeah, the
Little
car.
toy car.
Yeah.
when
I-
he was like, this is what happens, and then he moved the car, and then he's like, but not in reality. I was like, what? He just did it.
These people
Oh
are
my
nuts.
God, this guy's nuts. Absolutely.
They're not nuts. They're catching up.
It seems that way. Yeah, where they hand waved our argument previously, the argument being put across for perspective because it's excluded from curve maths, they're now not realizing that that's this reason why we detailed it in the first place, because you don't. You have orthographic view. You see the side of your own head looking at something in the distance that hasn't got smaller, and then you compare it to pictures where perspective rules. But now you think it's useful to your globe argument to detail the effects of perspective which aren't included in your maths. No, we'll just trim out what you do say that's correct, and then say this isn't in Earth curve maths, but the globies are detailing it. Isn't that useful for us? I literally made a very similar video with a little Porsche car, a little Porsche toy car, and did the same thing that guy did when arguing with Slice Bargain, who then took the same thing and put it into a model, and then said no matter how far away I push it, it won't disappear, and then he pushed it too far and it vanished. In his computer screen. It was brilliant.
No, that didn't happen in reality, though. Yeah, don't worry about that.
But my point is that I was making the video showing perspective because their argument didn't include it, and they justified why it wasn't included. Now they just show us how perspective works, because they're too thick to realise that the whole point of us showing it was because you don't include it in your begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve maths that shows you the side of your own head when you compare it to pictures. What about that Earth curve? Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
No.
No.
Nada, zilch, no.
Can't measure Earth curve.
No, you cannot. If we were on a sphere, we would definitely have an Earth curve edge for a horizon. Like if you put an ant above a beach ball, it would see the edge of the beach ball. Well, we'd have that effect on Earth if we were on a sphere, and we don't. It's debunked. Earth's
Well,
not a sphere.
It would only work if there was no such a thing as a curve function collapse, right? So it's still model based.
I don't know what
But-
you guys are talking about. Nobody
but-
claims the horizon is the curve of the Earth.
But I mean, would Earth curve not be 2-dimensional and we live in 3-dimensional? So Wouldn't really work.
Two-dimensional? What?
Yeah, orthographic view that they give you is 2D.
So that's only within the attempt to try to explain how it is curved, but in observation, which orthographic view is not, the curve function collapse happens. So in reality, it's never going to look that curved. It's not going to look like that.
No, in reality, it's flat, and to have a reification turn into the observation of reality, you're going to experience curve function collapse, which is to say you expect curve and it's all flat. Yes, that's right, Arwin. You can't observe curve, it only exists in the model. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
That's
I
the
wanna go-
negative.
I want to go back to Arwen.
Mhm.
If it was curved, we'd be able to measure it. Since it's not curved, we don't measure it because it's flat.
That's correct.
If it was curved, no, it's curve
If-
function collapse. That's the
if-
whole point of curve function collapse. Even if it is curved, then you can't measure it because it will collapse.
Well, let me ask you something. Does everything collapse when you pull out a tape measure?
No, never.
I don't
think it's-
understand the curve function collapse.
Tape measures curve.
Oh, let me explain. Let me explain to Neil.
Nice one, Arwen.
Hello. Let me just explain to Neil. So, if in your mind's eye, the ground beneath your feet is curved, i.e. you have a fundamentalist religious belief in a sphere earth beneath your feet, if that's what you believe, and then you set about measuring that which you believe, upon attempting to measure that which you believe, which is curved earth beneath your feet, it will collapse. I.e. you don't measure curve, even though you're measuring it in your maths and reifying it in your mind. In reality, upon attempts to measure that which is in the maths, it collapses, i.e. what you actually measure is flat. That's Arwin's point. It's very easy to reify the idea that you've got a curve beneath your feet with mathematics, but when you actually come to measure it, you measure flat.
Well, I also like the physical assumption with the word collapse, like it's something physical, but it's falling apart.
Yes,
it's true.
because it is a sphere. It really is, but there's just no way to measure it.
Arwen, tape measures do not curve. The metal ones have a curve, but there are cloth tape measures that are flat as a pancake.
I have a tape measure. It curves.
I
Um,
said,
But
there
is
are
it-
metal ones that curve left to right? There's like an arc, but they also have 100-foot tape measures that are flat and made of cloth.
Alrighty then.
They curve too.
Are you a flat earther? I think you just made that up. Never heard that.
No,
so.
Neil, rulers stay straight. Tape measures are always curved.
No,
They
they're
always
not.
can
Arwen, I
adapt,
have
but-
Arwen, I have one in my toolbox. It's 100-foot made out of cloth, metal edge, 1-inch metal edge. The rest is all flat cloth. 100-footer.
Well,
Uh,
when it's curved over a surface,
How do
would
you
it be counted
transport
as a
it?
straight
Just one at
line?
a time, just Neil and Arwin.
How do you transport it if it doesn't curve? Seems kind
Oh,
of
you roll it up.
tough
It's a
to
flat piece of-
transport 100
No,
feet
no, it's
curve.
Oh,
Oh,
are you
you-
listening to him?
Arwen. It rolls up. Yeah, you roll it up, but when you pull it out, it's flat.
Right, but that means it can roll up, so it can adapt to the curve. You can pull it around a corner, right?
What curve? And the corner is not a curve.
Hold on, 10th.
I'm just saying, the tape
Yeah, you have
measures
to-
are adaptable to curve. They will
Okay.
curve.
I thought you were talking about the curve in like a 25-foot tape measure. When you pull it out, yeah, it's got an arc on left and the right. I didn't think you
No.
were talking about when it goes when you pull it in and it rolls up into the circle. Yes, they all do roll up.
Right, but that means it's simply able to do that, and that doesn't guarantee it'll stay straight when it's rolled out. So it can adapt to any curve. You're going
Only-
to
What are
measure.
you talking about?
So
if
if
you're
only
gonna
there was
measure
a
the horizontal length of a slightly curved surface thing, you can put the tape measure all across the curve. So it adapts to the curve. So that doesn't prove anything.
no, but if
Yes,
only
that's
there was
correct.
Because there's no curve.
if only
Hold
there
on,
was a
I-
oh my god, if only there was a tool that could provide us with such engineering mastery as level. If only there
If
was
only.
maybe a bit of water with a bubble in it or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
and that's
water
a
adapts
level.
to the curve too. If there was such a thing, then it would adapt. You know this.
I'm watching a bit of Bev's channel, and he had someone on it. The title was "Globehead goes full bendizontal, never go full bendizontal." I thought that's a brilliant title. Just shout out to Bev. Great title.
Have you guys
but if
ever
you-
witnessed? Hold on. Have you guys ever witnessed a mud floor being done or like a pool being done? Well, what they do is they throw sand, a little bit of water, and a little bit of concrete, and they mix it up, and it's very dry. And what they do is they take these like 8-foot levels. They get on their hands and knees, and left and right they keep skimming it down. And on these levels they have the little water balls that show you that it's level. And when they get to the end of it, simmering down like 6 or 7 Italian guys until the thing is flat and level.
What's
So
going on? Has
I don't
Math
get it.
Powerland suddenly re-emerged in popularity or something? How does it go from flat Earth to floors? Literally flat Earth to flooring, like Math Powerland.
Well, you're standing on a floor, you know.
Neil's a floor.
Neil does floors. It's his
Well,
job.
because it's amazing to me how they do it. I mean, it's a big pile of sand, concrete, and water, and they shimmy it down, and they call it a mud floor. And it's loose and soft, but the next day it's hard as a rock and flat. But they use the levels that have water bubbles, one on the left, one on the right, one in the middle. And that's how they get the floor level, by using these levels with water in it, because water is level.
Well, Neil, your argument just floored me.
Yeah. But in the math, level can still mean curve, though. It's just when you actually measure it, the curve function collapse sets
knew that was
in. But
coming.
in the math, that's
Level
just as
does
curved
not
as
mean
everything
curve.
else.
Nice try, Arvin.
Yeah, nice try. So, meanwhile, gas pressure without a container? We just skimmed over that. Boom,
No.
boom.
Wouldn't pressure require containment?
Excuse me, my citation. Without the balloon, there can be no pressure. Thank you.
Without the firmament, there can be no pressure.
Says the Bible.
Okay.
What's the firmament?
The firmament is the covering over Earth. We have the Earth is a circle, and we have a covering. So you cover anything circular, and you tell me what you got. That is a dome, a firmament. That's why we're able to breathe here on Earth. That's
No, I
why
don't
they
know that.
can't get past it.
So what's the shape?
How do we
What's
know
the
it's
what's the shape,
dome-shaped?
color, composition? Give me all the details of your dome that you've now claimed.
Well, if you was to look at a football stadium, you know, the ones that they
No,
have enclosed.
no. Not a false comparison. Just what's it made of? The dome you now claim. Containment, definitely we've got gas pressure. Dome, what? What dome? What are you talking about?
I'd say it's like a crystalline solid, like a rock.
You'd
but,
say,
you know, maybe
you'd say,
see-through.
hold on,
Crystalline.
sorry,
Woohoo.
sorry. You know how I explained that you get the dirty detail out nice and early, first breath? You'd say,
did.
hello, you'd say it was a crystalline structure. Would you say that? Oh, right, I'd say it's made of unicorn farts. That's what I'd say. What about any actual evidence of this dome that you're saying is a crystalline structure?
Nathan, are you able to breathe right now?
Yeah, that means we've got
You're able to
containment.
breathe,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely got containment. I know we have containment. No idea what it is. You say it's a dome with a crystalline structure. Who's got their mic? Hello, rags to riches, mic wide open, screaming kids. Hello, hello.
Sorry.
Neil, what crystalline structure you say it has? What are you talking about?
Well, the way it's detailed in the Bible. That's what it says. So I'm a Bible believer, so I'm going to go with that.
Right, and in My Little Pony, it says it's unicorn farts. I'm going to go with that.
My Little Pony does not explain how the world was created, does not explain how God made man. That's My Little Pony. So
Where
about
does
the
the Bible
Bible?
say the firmament is a dome? There's different descriptions. It doesn't get geometrical in any form.
Sorry, guys. As much as I'd love to get into the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy that is, my Bible says, therefore dome, therefore Bible says, the other way around, sorry. Screw that up totally. Doesn't matter. The point is the same. You've got to affirm the consequent based on what your Bible says. Now, that's no different to a model. You don't know what it is, neither do I.
Well, I can't personally verify it. That's correct.
Right, so it's no...
I think I can.
So there's no difference. So why on earth would I let you get away with it and berate the fundies for assuming their model in an affirming the consequent begging the question fallacy? Containment, yes. Dome, crystalline structure because you say, or my Bible, no, sorry.
Well, it does say rakia too. Rakia,
Means roof.
like rock.
Just means
stone.
roof.
Rakia doesn't imply a geometry either.
Doesn't imply a crystalline structure, it just means roof. Now, yeah, you can imply containment, if you want to be more accurate, by roof, if you like. But does that mean that we've got a roof? Okay, well, what's the roof made of? What are roofs normally made of? Slate? So we've got a slate roof. And it just says roof. Rakia means roof.
10th man, help me out.
With what? What's he gonna... He's not going to save you. He's kept quiet for a reason.
No, I'm listening. Comes from the root word raka, something stamped out, solid in structure, and later referred to as crystalline. But that is an ancient document that says and proves from those words that I use that it can act as a container. So we're saying the same thing here, except the Bible specifies it. And what Nathan is asking, how do you know? Well, we say we trust the Bible, and we leave it right there.
But now you're not addressing the word dome, which is what the discussion really was about, because a dome implies a geometry. Everything you said does not. It just implies certain elements like containment.
Whether it's a dome or not, I do not know. All I know is it provides the necessary antecedent for gas pressure.
Containment does. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fine. You've got to have a solid barrier to keep gas here. Yeah. So other than that, there's nothing to disagree with.
And it goes as far as to say that the sun and the moon and the stars were made on the fourth day, whereas the containment, the rakia, was made on the second day, and the sun, the moon, and the stars were put inside. So that means no outer space, ballers.
No, it doesn't.
Inside.
That's to me. That's to me.
No. Gas pressure shows there's no outer space because we wouldn't have it if there was.
That's what I'm saying, Nathan. If the sun, moon, and stars were put inside the containment and the containment is necessary for gas pressure, it's the same thing.
Inside the containment?
You don't know
or
what
inside of the container wall?
Inside the firmament. Inside the firmament. Yeah, I'm just telling you what it says.
Is that inside the actual container wall? Or is that within the geometry space in between?
Is the sun moving 15 degrees an hour, Arwen?
Well done. Arwen's asking you, based on the phraseology, and this is something that I've pondered. Hold on, let me just summarise Arwen's question. You're saying inside the firmament is how it's phrased, correct?
Correct.
Well, that implies inside the roof. In the structure itself, inside the firmament would be inside the bit that's being described by Neil as a dome. I don't want to do this. We know we've got containment.
It doesn't apply. Hang on, let me understand what you're saying. Does the sun move 15 degrees an hour or is Earth turning? Which one is our stance?
Full dichotomy.
Is it underneath or is it inside?
Arwen, hold on.
You're red
I'm not
herring.
gonna. No, I'm not. I'm not worried about inside, like attached to the bottom side of the
That's his question.
firmament.
But that's his question.
Well,
But
if
that's
I
his
can't
question.
answer it, how are you going to hear it?
But that's his question. You're
My
saying you're not worried
goodness,
about it.
Where's your patience?
Well, my patience runs out when you say I'm not interested in answering his question. I'm not interested in inside or underneath. That's
No,
his
I am
question.
interested in answering his question, but I'm being interrupted. What are you talking about? Who said I wasn't interested in answering his question?
So
I
how
am
does your
answering.
question, does the sun move at a certain apparent angle? How does that relate to answering the question of its
Well,
actual location
okay,
according
if
to the
you-
Bible?
If you keep your mouth quiet for a little bit, I might be able to answer it. My opinion is, as I read the Bible, that when God made everything, it wasn't until the fourth day that it declares that the sun, moon, and stars were made, and it said it was put inside the firmament. So, what's the firmament? Well, that was on the second day. When you look up what that word means, it means a solid structures like almost like metallurgy, something stamped out, and then later refers to it as crystalline glass, so something strong like that. So, what do I observe in reality? I observe the sun moving, not the earth turning. So obviously it's not attached to the firmament, or if it is, then the whole firmament is moving. So there's things about that. Do you mind?
Yeah,
Do you
I
mind?
do.
Let him
Okay,
finish,
you're
Arwin.
having your own
You asked for the answer. He's
conversation,
giving it you.
Arwin.
Just let him finish, Arwin. Go ahead, 10th.
My goodness. I've been through this before, Arwin. So if some people say, well, how do you know it's not attached to the firmament and the firmament is moving? I don't. If someone says, well, do you think the firmament is solid in structure and not moving, and the sun, moon, and stars inside are? I go, it might. I don't know those details. All I know is what it says.
Okay.
How do you know
He
that-
doesn't.
No, but I want to ask the question because there is a lot of assumptions here rolled out by 10th Man about the luminaries and that they would be stuck to something. What, you
I
can't
didn't-
imagine that these things that are, well, they don't seem to be physical in any sort of way. What would prevent them from actually being inside the physical firmament and freely moving in it when they're not even like physical in nature? What would
I'm
prevent
not-
that?
I'm not arguing that point at all. They
Yeah,
could be
you
either
did.
or.
Yeah, you did because
Okay.
you were arguing how, but they were stuck to
Look,
the firmament, and
so
that
I
guys,
gave
guys,
an
stop.
option.
firmament itself
Hello,
would move.
hello.
I gave
We're,
an
hello.
option.
We're now arguing about the interpretation of Bible text in terms of the day it's made, and you've made clear, 10th Man, that you don't know. Right? All we
Right.
know
I
is
just
we have
gave it-
gas pressure. Therefore, there must be containment. That's it. The rest of the assumptions about what the containment is and what the stars do in relation to it, whether they're in it or under it, we don't know any of that.
That's right.
Well, that's it. That's it. So we don't know other than we've got gas pressure. Therefore, we must have containment. That's it.
That's the point.
Well, and we know the descriptions we have gotten as a hint, and then how to logically deal with that as to what it might be. No claims laid, really, right?
I gave
That's
the
what I was
option,
trying-
Arwin. I don't know where you thought I was dogmatic on anything.
Well, you started to argue like in your visualization of it, they would have to be stuck like a solid thing, like a
Oh,
crystal
can
being.
we move
No,
on?
come on, Chocolate. Let me finish.
Well,
You
no, because
suggested
we're
that-
discussing
just-
we're discussing the interpretation of Bible text, as opposed to this, which is a physics show. We're an education show about reality, not about the interpretation of Bible text. As much as the respect I have for the people who've studied it further than I and could answer you, Arwin, that's not what this show's about. We've discussed it enough. Thank you. I obviously want to hear it. It's about the nature of our reality. We've heard the whys and wherefores of why Neil and 10th believe it, but now we're into debating something that's not debatable. It's his faith, his belief, what he wants to believe, and now you're going to debate why it could do those things that he believes in. He's already disclaimed he can't prove them. Fine. He did more than Neil did. He gave his belief without any need for further disclaimer. Shout out to Godzilla37. He says, FE was created. By whom? ? Place your bets. The wager, your soul. Thank you very much for the super chat, Godzilla37.
I don't know. I just like to even beliefs can be analyzed for logic, right?
Wrong platform.
Just because you don't know. That's all.
Wrong stage. Wrong platform. The nature of Earth, we're talking about the nature of Earth. Now, your belief about something that describes the nature of Earth is us discussing your belief in something that describes the nature of Earth, as opposed to the nature of Earth. So while it's directly connected, I will hear it, but I don't want to debate it once we've ascertained that there isn't any physical evidence to back the things beyond the containment that we must have to be breathing. That's it. If you can provide something else, I'll obviously listen to it. Any more on gas pressure without a container?
Space-time keeps it in the jar of the sphere Earth.
What space-time?
I don't know, man, but it's
That-
still keeping the
that's
gas
crap.
pressure here.
Well, that was quick. I don't know, man.
I think we
Yeah, I
pressed
don't
the
know, man, but
pressure
it's
out.
certainly keeping that gas pressure here, right?
No, space-time is not a force. It's a pseudo-Ramonian geometry.
Well, maybe it doesn't require a force to keep the gas here. Something else that we don't understand.
We do understand it requires containment.
Right. Well,
Right.
maybe containment would be in the form of a limited space for matter to get into. Maybe there's another type of barrier that's not material, not even energy. Maybe it's just a cut off space. Maybe that's what space-time bending is.
No, it's just a geometry.
What was getting
What's
more
the
fallacies
altitude
y'all
where we
think we
should
made up?
find this barrier?
What, in pseudo-4 space geometry? It's maths. You're not going to find it in physicality. We're talking about maths again and asking where we're going to find something in physical reality. You're never going to experience
firmament,
or encounter
where do-
pseudo-4
where-
space in
what
any way, shape, or
altitude?
form. It's maths. It's just a geometry. You're doing it for them is why I cut you off, Rams. If you say, well, how high before we experience this barrier in pseudo-4 space? Never. You're not experiencing pseudo-4 space. Length, breadth, depth, and time, otherwise known as space-time, or pseudo-Ramonian 4 space, or Einsteinian space-time, whatever you want to call it, that's a non-place like Narnia. Doesn't exist. It's not reality. Describing how length, breadth, depth, and time will affect the fabric of time when reifying this geometry into physical existence and describing things that happen in the sky doesn't make the bending of fabric of time real. It's not.
Agreed.
I mean, and so of course you can measure the amount of time in the table.
Time's a
Well,
concept.
maybe if space-time maybe if space-time would cause like time itself to go so slow that the gas simply couldn't expand in all directions to fill the available volume because it would never arrive there, and that kind of keeps all the pressure to Earth.
Special plating fallacy.
Correct.
Time doesn't exist.
I know. It would explain though, like how that thing at the Planet of the Apes happened, you know?
Arwen, the only time is related to gas pressure is if you're a scuba diver and you have 10 minutes left in your tank. That's about it.
Wow. You have 10 minutes.
Or else you're
I didn't
dead.
know time could take up volume. That's interesting.
No, that's the amount of time your gas is going to give you unless you come up and refill your tank because you need containment, Arwen, not time. It's a way of
Time is
measuring
just-
how much.
Cool.
Time is
Time
just a
produces
concept.
gas.
Time is just a concept that we gave as units to measure duration.
Thank you.
What about scientific
It's a
evidence of gravity
convention
then?
we use to describe something changing.
Yeah, it's the proportion of entropy, correct.
I know, but I just had to basically take it literal since we just came out of a space-time discussion.
True. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What is it? Maybe in
Has
the
the-
future we will.
Has there ever even been a hypothesis for gravity?
I would literally just, in not only in context and in statement, but he just used an appeal to the future fallacy by saying maybe in the future we will. That's literally an appeal to the future fallacy.
Yeah.
If there was such a thing as gravity, you wouldn't need containers.
What's gravity? Have we got any scientific evidence of it? Or should we move on?
Black holes.
The thing about black hole, right? The basic black hole colour. Your colour of a black hole is that it's black. And the thing about space, your basic space colour, the colour of space, is that it's black. How are you supposed to see them?
But that makes sense because the pseudo gravity makes it so that light can escape. So of course it's black because it's black. Light can't escape.
Oh, I see. So if I assume the behaviour of light based on the mechanics of pseudo-Riemannian four-space geometry that none of us exist in, then I can describe that an effect that is observed is actually the effect I detailed in my pseudo-geometry, therefore a black hole. Wow.
Yes.
Well, you can see a black hole because it's basically like a ball planet that absorbs all light, even bends it towards it. So you'll see it by the contrast of another light behind it in relation to your observation point.
Yeah. Bending that light with the pseudo-geometry of pseudo-Riemannian four-space. And based on those principles, that'll give you the effect that you can see if you can observe it from multiple locations and composite the image together to give you a donut.
So there you go.
And
There's your
then
proof
if
for
you're
gravity.
smart enough, you can make a ship and then actually travel through this thing we call a black hole and then end up in hell. It's great.
What? Black hole? No, that's a wormhole you're thinking of, not a black hole.
Bro, Event Horizon, man. Come on.
I
They
want
didn't
to
go
go on
into
a.
black hole, they were wormholes.
Sorry. How did I become a?
That's me inviting you in to join the conversation, Chris.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Please.
All right, hold on. You guys are all obviously much smarter than I am.
Oh, thank you very much.
So-
I don't know why you'd be so self-deprecating, but there we go.
Oh, all right. Wait, what are we talking about again? We said something about a dome, and then
No,
then we were
we're
talking about time.
gravity right now. Scientific
Oh,
evidence
gravity.
of gravity.
What?
We're asking for
Scientific evidence of gravity.
That was
And
the
I
greatest response.
brought up black holes, and then we went into that.
Did you have any
Alright.
scientific evidence of
Who-
gravity, Chris?
Wait. Who thinks gravity doesn't exist?
No, we're asking for it to be validated by way of scientific evidence. That's the fourth time we've told you personally with your name attached at the end, Chris. Chris, we're asking for scientific
okay.
evidence of gravity. Scientific evidence of gravity. Chris, do you have any scientific evidence of gravity?
Yeah, I want you to take a coin and let go of it. And if it hits the floor, you got gravity.
Right, do you think that's scientific evidence, Chris?
I think that's pretty damning evidence.
Do you think it's scientific evidence, given you were asked 7 times for scientific evidence? Do you believe that is scientific evidence, given it's your answer to the question you were asked 7 times?
Yup.
Really? You think dropping a coin is science, do you, dipshit?
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
I
then
think
you're
being
thick.
a little angry there, sir.
Thick. Just dealing with a thicko. Doesn't know what science is.
Oh, you think I'm thick? Oh,
You
how
think dropping a
kind of
coin
you.
is science? Yes. I'll make a statement of fact.
Yes.
The person who stated that dropping a coin is science is demonstrably stupid. That would be you, Chris. You are demonstrably stupid because dropping a coin is absolutely unequivocally not science, as you interrupt me pointing out your stupidity. Your stupidity for a live audience. Yes, you are stupid. Is that clear? I've said it twice and then summarised it once. Therefore, 3
Yup.
times telling you, you are stupid. Dropping a coin isn't science.
Okay.
Not really. You've just wasted our time with your dumb idiocy. You're on a live show wasting everybody's time, including the audience, because you think dropping a coin is science and scientific evidence of gravity, making you a moron. Why are you wasting our time?
Because I think it's funny.
You think it's funny to demonstrate your stupidity to a live audience? Wow, we had someone yesterday who did that too. Girl came on and thought it was really funny to demonstrate just how stupid she was to a live audience, and you feel fit to do the same? Demonstrate just how stupid you are? Wow, very amusing that you should come here and tell us that dropping a coin is science. However, it makes you stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like he doesn't give a flip.
Well, he came in already declaring that we're more knowledgeable, so I would like to hear though what his thoughts on your conclusion about what he said, Nathan. Have any thoughts on that?
What were we talking about again?
Scientific evidence of gravity. That's the 8th time.
Oh yeah. Wait, so are you guys flat earthers or is the other guy a flat earther?
Do you need the question for a 9th time?
Well, that didn't quite answer my question.
What, the question that preceded or followed the question that we asked 9 times?
My
we should
question
pay attention
is,
to your
do
question.
you believe Earth pancake or do you believe Earth ball?
Do you
Simple
believe
question.
that a coin being dropped is scientific evidence of gravity? Because it isn't, and
Yes,
we're on that
I
particular
do
question
believe-
that you're now interrupting because you seem to be a triggered fundy who's been asked for science 9 times, hasn't given it, and then has been declared as stupid by a flat earther. But you feel your question should take priority? No.
Yes.
Oh, really? Well, you're wrong. Me pointing out how stupid it is to come and declare to 125 live audience members that dropping a coin is science, I'll focus on that. Because the person who declared it is a globe believer. A thicko who thinks he's on a globe and also thinks, after being demonstrated stupid by a flat earther, that his questions will take priority. Also very stupid.
Nice.
So what we're waiting for now is you to concede your error so we can move on with our questions, not yours.
All right. Take another coin and drop that one.
And this is scientific evidence, is it?
Yep.
Sorry,
Pretty
what
damning
makes something
evidence.
science, exactly? What makes it scientific evidence? Do you understand what science is?
Yes.
What science? Tell us all about it.
They got fucking test tubes.
Don't swear.
And oh,
Hello?
sorry.
Just tell us what
Yep.
science is. What are the 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment?
You want to find out the answer to a thing. So you test that thing and you write down what happened.
Let me get it straight. You look at something, write down what happened. You think that's the 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment, do you, you clown? Wrong.
Okay.
Not okay. You don't know what science is. I asked 10 times for
Okay.
scientific evidence of gravity. You laughed, thought it was amusing that you were stupid, and are now clearly demonstrating that you don't know what science is. Why are you using words that you don't know the meaning of?
If I'm wasting your time, then why are you continuing to have
Not a
me
waste
speak?
of my time. I've got a live audience to entertain and educate on the nature of reality, also the nature of human behavior. You think you are correct and that we are incorrect, to the point where you will come and interrupt me whilst I'm pointing that out to the 125 people you've told dropping a coin is science. Yeah? That's not a waste of my time. It demonstrates to my audience just how stupid globe believers are. You're one of them.
Oh, okay.
So you think that observing something and writing down the result is the 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment, do you, you complete idiot? Globe believing clown?
Maybe.
Well, you're wrong. It's not maybe. It's unequivocally incorrect. You are a clown. And you don't know what science is.
Okay.
No, okay. You're a globe-believing clown who doesn't know what science is, but has come here to tell me, in answer to the question, any scientific evidence of gravity, that dropping a coin is science, and the 3 constituent parts are observe it, write it down. You complete idiot.
Yep. I don't worry. I heard you the first couple times.
Right, so why are you here using the word of science when you don't know what it is?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Do you know where you are?
I walked into a Flat Earth Discord server.
And then got completely humiliated for a live audience by the host. I hope you feel proud.
I wouldn't say humiliated.
You think dropping a coin is science, dickhead? Yeah, that little chuckle is your humiliation. Yeah?
No.
Yes, you have indeed been humiliated by a flat earther. You stumbled into a flat earth Discord server and then were humiliated by a flat earther for 150 people for your lack of knowledge on what science is. That's what's happened. Then you laughed when I demonstrated to my audience that it's humiliating for you. You laughed about it because it is humiliating. Yes, I have humiliated you. You don't have to like it. Do you have anything else to add?
Nah, I'm good.
Good. Pop yourself back on mute then, you complete dumbass globe-believing retard. Good boy. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well,
Coin.
well, they would at least be able to have a null, but the fact that they don't have nulls shows they don't even use an hypothesis in the first instance.
Do they not have a null because they don't have a independent variable that they can manipulate? Is that why they don't have a null or an alternative? I mean,
In Chocolate's
so they
question,
can't get past looking at stuff.
in Chocolate's question, he paraphrased 3 constituent parts of a scientific experiment just for the audience's benefit. So without having to say, I know the answer, Chocolate managed to paraphrase it into a question and still give the answer. Kudos, Chocolate.
They're
New
looking up.
science up there, you need a test tube big enough to encapsulate the sun.
Sorry, say again, Eric. I didn't catch that.
I don't have a test tube big enough to encapsulate the sun.
Fair enough. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Would you not need a radius for that?
Shout out to Father of a Stolen Child.
So much of that crap that I used to believe in depended on that R value.
The globe really did die 1st Jan 2020. That's when it died, officially. There's been plenty of videos made by people prior to that where globe is dead, here's a globe debunking. And it was good. But at no point was there a line capable of being drawn underneath the whole belief in a globe. Now there is. There's a line under it. Without the R value, you've got absolutely nothing to make the assertion in the first instance when you beg the question or affirm the consequent that the Earth's a sphere. You need the R value in every instance. If it's debunked, that's it. Globe's over.
You know, I used to say that Luca Brasi and the Black Swan is the Luca Brasi. I can't say that no more because Luca Brasi got killed. So I have to say that the Black Swan is a Michael Corleone.
Does everything have to relate back to The Godfather, Neil?
I just had to clear that up because I used to say the Black Swan is the Luca Brasi. No, it's Michael Corleone.
Didn't he die too?
Say again?
Of old
Did Michael
age, sitting on
Corleone
a
get
chair.
killed as well?
One more time, Stag.
Did Michael Corleone get assassinated?
No, he died in a stupid movie called The Godfather 3 that should have never been made.
That's funny.
I actually quite like The Godfather 3. No hate from anyone.
Are you serious, Nathan?
Yeah, I am actually serious. I do enjoy that movie. I quite like
How?
Well, because there's a certain aspect of it. He gets to power, and then he's dealing at the upper echelons of power and finding that, you know, when he gets to that consortium of really high up guys, and he's managed to get his way in through the Pope, and then they tell him, yeah, just because you've made your way in doesn't mean that we're not going to abuse you and take you for everything that you can do. Our ships will all sail in the same direction, is what he says at the end of the meeting, right? And they're trying to get him to do dodgy stuff. And he basically, it's a way of explaining that while you see the criminal underbelly in the first 2 movies going right back to Sicily, when you go to the 3rd movie, you get to see it expanding out into the world that we actually experience and get a better idea of how that kind of corruption, it permeates everything. And I thought, like I say, I enjoyed The Godfather 3. If you don't like me for it, get lost.
No, I agree with those parts of it, but the part where Connie is ordering hits, come on, you're weak in the movie. Now, Andy Garcia was great as Sonny's illegitimate son. Made the movie watchable.
It just doesn't have the same magic and mystique of the first 2 movies, and I get that. But it's not the first 2 movies, is it?
No, it's not, but I agree.
You know. Anyway, it's not Scarface either, is it? You know what I mean? It's not Dog Day Afternoon either. It's just a different movie. Just happens to be in that trilogy. But you know, RoboCop 3 was a complete dud also now, wasn't it?
We're talking about movies now.
Oh
So
my god! Don't ever, please don't ever say that again.
Did you
wanna
like
forget that
RoboCop
movie
3?
existed.
you are under arrest.
If they made a fourth one, everybody would like the third one better.
Well, no, they did make a fourth one. It was just a remake of the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people that were fans of the first two like the third one better than the fourth one, probably.
Oh, most definitely. That's true. Because there's a tongue-in-cheek aspect that just went too far in the third one to make it kid-friendly. I think it got a 15 certificate here in the UK, whereas the previous two had got an 18 certificate. So it was just too gory for kids, so they tamed it down and made it, you know, focused a bit more on the tongue-in-cheek humour that they had in the first two anyway, which did make them good. Well, the remake was all dark and didn't have any humour in it. You know, it was just a pile of crap. But in the third one, they made him fly. So, just stupid. And in the third one, he managed to get his ass kicked every single time he encountered any bad guy who would end up on his ass. He spent more time on his back in the third movie than he did standing up. Anyway.
So disappointing.
Very disappointing. And Kung Fu Ninja robots with swords? Come on. You can do better than that. The 90s are calling with the film critics. It's like... Let's review
Then
this.
again, you had RoboCop 2 where you had a robot hooked on freaking drugs. It's just like, oh my god. Sometimes I think they should have just stopped at the first one and just left it alone after that.
Dude, RoboCop 2 was very heavy. I thought RoboCop 2 was like very impactful. The third sucked, but the first one was just brilliant. The second one I thought was very too, but it's just so gruesome. Like the entire thing was so gruesome.
For the audience's benefit, right, I know I poo-poo talking about the dome and the crystalline structure, and now we are talking about RoboCop, but we have actually completed housekeeping. That was actually the last question when I asked about axial rotation that didn't get answered.
Oh, can I go back to Gravity for a second?
You can, after I shout out Paul Connell. He says, let's call it adios, because there's no R. Love your work, guys. Thank you very much, Paul Connell, for your super chat. Really appreciate support. Go ahead, Paul. I mean, John.
It's all right. We're both from Tennessee, so it's not like racist or anything. What I was wondering about is the guy that come in and asserted gravity by picking up a coin and dropping it. Was he trying to assert mass attracts mass, or was he trying to assert like bendy space time? I don't think he ever really knew what he was going with it.
I don't think he knew. I don't think he ever got that far.
I'd just like to say, I'm from the Upper South as well, so it's not racist.
I think when he came in, he can learn from this. He needs to change his strategy. Dropping a coin makes no sense.
No sense.
And change the strategy.
Hold on, let me just tell Neil. Sense like pennies, Neil. Just so we don't get it TARDIS style 2 minutes from now.
I want to say something
Then
about,
you should have emphasized the T more. No sense.
No, you don't. Arwen needs to learn dad jokes. No, quite the opposite, Arwen. Wrong. You don't emphasize the T in sense. I did it to make the point, but he didn't because that makes the joke.
And you all missed the first one.
Okay.
Change his argument.
Change. Were we talking about sentencing?
You can take that one to the bank. Now let's move on.
Well, Al Junkie managed to get a super chat and a pun right in with this mix, so I might as well say it now. Dropped my last coin. Scientific proof. I'm broke. says Al Junkie.
Brilliant.
Does he mean the models broke?
It was a multi-leveled pun because he's dropped his last coin in the super chat. He's referring to the guy earlier who dropped a coin, giving it a scientific broke, saying he's broke at the end. Perfect. Al Junkie, priceless.
I just wanted to point something out about that guy.
Which guy?
People like that guy's not fake. That guy's real. People are walking around. I encounter these people. They think that, science. Like if you ask if they could articulate this, they would say, "What are the three constituent parts of a scientific experiment?" They would say, a beaker, a Bunsen burner, and a white lab coat. Like that's what they think science is, and that's what everyone thinks science is. It's really weird, and that's why that guy could come in here and think that we are stupid because we don't have a white coat and a Bunsen burner and a beaker. Like that's actually what he thinks.
Yeah, they think we're not in a position to tell them what's what, and the only people that can disseminate information are those who tell others what's what, and we're not them, therefore stupid. So just Paul Connell, who super chatted earlier, says Nathan called it Adius. It's A-D-us. Let's put that up on screen so you can see what I'm getting wrong, if I'm getting anything wrong. Thank you very much, though, Paul. Oh, where's the super chat gone? It's not on that one. Maybe not, Paul. But yeah, thank you very much.
Well,
Paul, but since you want the name, I've got to ask a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
If he imposes, like John was saying about mass attracting mass, it means that's what's the cause of it, right? Well, what happens when you have a massless particle or object? Can it be attracted to something of mass, even in the Einstein paradigm?
No, because the effect is caused by the uneven distribution of mass. So if something's massless.
Well, so that being the case, light is massless. So how can something of mass have impact on something that's massless?
Doesn't. The Einsteinian nonsense is full of Swiss cheese. It's like Swiss cheese. It's full of holes, rather. Paula summed it up.
And then we'd have to define mass too on top of that. So.
Paula from
Right.
chat.
Well, that was my point. Sorry, go ahead.
From chat, Paula says, "Meth attracts meth." Yeah, that's true. It's very sad. Oh, math. Math attracts math.
Well, from the Newtonian one, they're kind of screwed because they need an M2, the center of M2, to assert that silly stuff about things we don't observe in reality.
But what happens when you add M3 to it?
Where'd you get M1 or M2 if you haven't got radius?
What is M?
Mass.
M&Ms.
It's a mathematical. Hold on. It's a mathematical ambiguity used to describe observations.
So, what we use to describe observations, not actually the observations themselves. Copy that.
Yep. Another shout out to Paul Connell. Says thanks for the shout out, not for sending up a super chat. Don't get it. Thanks for the shout out for not sending a super chat. I don't get it. But thank you very much for the super chat, Paul. Really appreciate it.
I think he's talking about me, Nathan, because I shouted him out about even though I was wanting to talk about myself. I think that's what he was.
Oh, I see. Same goes whoever it was that brought this up for the girl the other day. Everyone was like, she's trolling, she's a troll, she's been on Jose's. It's like, no, just a normal person that said it like she thought it. You guys are just wrong. You just make stuff up because you are just flat earthers. You stereotypical flat earthers. That's what she said. And I believe her. That's what she thinks. Just a normal person. Dumb coin Glober is beyond saving in brackets, says Al Junkie on the super chat. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we just have to invest into them.
Ooh, nice.
I'll make a note of that.
Excellent. Flatside's polishing it up nicely. Yeah, your puns are coming along. You'll be great, Dad. Dad jokes, great.
That'll just be usury.
Top notch. Excellent.
This is all very interesting, but can we move on?
Well, they keep falling short.
That was the best one yet.
Interesting.
Hey, Arwen, you can go pound sand.
You can bank on it. Let's move on.
Yeah, this is getting kind of inflated.
No more talk. No more talk on RoboCop then. Not urgently pressing stuff to keep the live show open.
It's a sad day when the best baller is Arwen.
That's always been the case. Arwen's always been the best baller.
Yeah, but I wonder why are they not coming here with proof? I mean, like, that always puzzles me. Like, they got this proof, and there's even a show, Gem Pandas, where if you go there now, there'll be like 40 people on there. Why don't they come here and convince us?
Because their proof is the conviction that there is proof, and everybody keeps that going. So they have a story of proof, but when you test it, it's not actually proof, and they know it, so just keeping up the story.
Paul has answered my question from chat on whether or not there was anything important to talk further on RoboCop. She says no, they're too invested in the coin puns. Boom, boom. With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Also, if you'd like to get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy, there's a link in the info box below. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
That guy was great. I love it when that happens.
Well, he was counting on his change.
Yeah, it's very ironic though that despite everything that's happened, the coin didn't drop for him.
Yeah, I was waiting for the penny to drop as well, but it didn't.
Right, the penny, sorry.
Yeah. I stole your pun and made it work.
Thank you.
Hello. You wide open mics as we move into the after show. Check your mics.
I felt bad for him.
Hold on, just
I
one
did,
sec.
I felt bad.
Just one sec. Just check your mics in Discord because you get immediately taken off mute when you get put into the after show. So, looking at you, something can't read it, whatever you're called. Sorry, go ahead, John.
Mike, discipline.
I was gonna say I felt bad for him. Like I could see myself being that guy like 2 or 3 years ago. You know, it was so cringy for me to hear that.
He just echoed the feelings and thoughts of a lot of people who would stumble across this show, and he made it clear that he had just stumbled across the show, which is great, because that's what you get. Every general Joe Normie who would stumble across the show would say, oh, well, they're flat earthers, idiots then. They don't know what they're talking about. They're not a white lab coat authority that can tell me what's what so I can parrot it verbatim to the next man. They're not in that position. They're idiots. So I'm going to take the limited knowledge I've got because I've been sold the idea that every single word that comes across their lips will be wrong because they're all stupid. That's what they've been sold. So they're left with a false sense of security. They're left with the impression that to be a flat earther makes you a dribbling moron. and you can go in and challenge basically anything they say and win because they're all idiots.
But that's what I like about this, because when he comes in now, obviously he has never really been exposed to what's happening. Now he's actually going to have to go and deduce things for himself and research it for actual honesty, and then he has to make a decision. Is he going to stay with his globe cult, or is he going to actually be honest and move on?
Nah, he's going to leave here going, I got to laugh at him. While I was humiliating him, he laughed. He'll tell himself that he was laughing at me, therefore he won. That's what he'll tell himself.
Well, this is what puzzles
Yeah,
me.
that's
Like,
just like Homegirl who showed up the other day. Like, she was literally laughing. Like, we're just stupid because we made up things like begging the question fallacy and just laughing. I don't think she was trolling. I really think she was seriously thinking that she was correct. That flat earthers are just retarded because she's never heard of this fallacy. We just made it up. Even after being told, just Google it real quick. See, you know, validate what you're saying. And she couldn't.
Yeah, but to be
what did she say? Go ahead.
Sorry, but to be fair, she's been in this arena for at least 1.5 years now. She's been one of my frequent trolls. So I definitely have to say she is a troll.
Which brings me
Right.
to my question. Like, I just try to understand. Like, when I first came into this arena, and I started hearing about flat Earth, like, my antenna went up, and I was listening, and I was like putting things together. So, what's the disconnect where somebody like me can start looking at things and start comparing things and start looking at things for myself, and other people that don't, they just dismiss it and say, no, it's a ball. I believe the lab coats. I believe these people. Is that an appeal to consensus or appeal
No.
to academia?
I can answer that. That's purely psychological because of the threshold of the world they've trusted upon, lent upon. Basically, yeah. So when you figure out, like, wait, if flat earthers are right in some way, if it's, then everything flips inside out, and a whole bunch of things that you counted on your entire life are going to be, lurching over you. It's very scary. It's very scary to go over that threshold. That's why a lot of flat earthers, when they first get into it, they have sleepless nights, sometimes for a month or more. And these ballers simply never could get themselves to go over the threshold. That's the difference. You did get over it. And a lot of people, they don't. They just don't do it.
And Arwen is absolutely right. I had that spoken to me directly by a globe believer.
Yeah,
so
and
he's not lying.
And Conspiracy Cats detailed it to Haunted House pretty much verbatim.
That's it.
Yeah, it's scary.
Can we hear it?
You can. Go and listen on Haunted House's channel to his interview with Conspiracy Cats, where he details in the third person how scary it would be and how you'd have sleepless nights if you had to contemplate the idea or notion that you'd been lied to on multiple scales, which is what you'd have to do if you realised Flat Earth was true, which obviously it isn't. That was his attitude. Like, so basically projecting out exactly how you're feeling then. You'd be in a world of pain because you'd have to accept the fact that you've probably been lied to about other things. So you better just accept that they haven't lied, because then you won't have to face any of that, causing sleepless nights. Pretty much what Arwen just said.
Exactly. It happens to everybody.
Well,
not me.
not
Other than
necessarily
Dan.
everybody, but yeah. If you're transitioning and therefore
like
you're questioning
somebody
whether or not you appreciate the nature of your reality as being flat, therefore the globe being a lie, if you're contemplating it and you're in two minds, you experience that pain. But for me and for others that I've certainly spoken to personally, they've described the complete opposite. A relief, a release. Better sleep. Quite the contrary to what you're describing. So not everybody, but yeah, you're right. In a vast majority of people, it's a massive paradigm shift and it causes them a bit of pain as they transition.
And
Right, but with some people, the transition stage basically preceded the realization. So they were already kind of ready to switch, and then the door suddenly opened up to them, and then it's a relief, right?
Yes.
But a lot of people, they never prepare for it. They basically count on everything to stay the way it is from that perspective, from that
I
psychological
find
point of
it's
view,
for
and then
people.
the switch is really dramatic to them. So it
It's more
depends on how
painful.
you
Well, I think
approach
it's
that
about
moment.
like people
It's more.
realizing what humans are capable of and people with power are capable of.
Like,
When you accept that's when you can see how these things are possible.
Rams.
I think a lot of people, I mean, the people that I speak to, and I'm in England now and I'm traveling around, and I've been traveling about for 8 months speaking to people. And I'm starting to realize since COVID and since the stimulus checks, since all this crap's happened and people are losing the plot, they're starting to realize that there is no system there to help them. So they already know something's wrong. We all already knew something wrong. You could feel it. But does it actually matter to people when you speak to them about it? Some, it doesn't even matter to them what they're standing on. They're too involved in the system itself and their bubble. They want to go back to that. It's safety, it's comfortable. And guess what? It's convenient, especially in America. There's so much convenience and laziness that they want to go back to that bubble because it's more safety to them, even though there's no safety there. It's an illusion.
Correct. As described by Morpheus to Neo, some people are so hopelessly immersed in the system that they can't get out of it. They're never going to be able to get out of it. They'll, in fact, fight to protect it.
yeah, like that's why when you get people like Conspiracy Cats, obviously he's too invested into his religion and he's got such a huge audience. There's much more pressure on him if he's going to, say, am I honest with myself or am I going to be a people pleaser? And at the moment, he just chooses people pleaser because he's got so much pressure from that side. So obviously, he's going to keep lying to himself to stay in that paradigm.
Yeah, I've seen him express that to somebody. Somebody sent me a comment, and in the comment, it specifically had him saying, unless you can disprove consensus is on my side, so I win. You're like, okay, well, that's what you're falling back on. That's what you rely on for your beliefs to manifest in your reality as reality when you reify a model. Okay, well, consensus also reifies it, therefore I'm right. Okay, fine, go in peace. Or have your sleepless nights and your constant contemplation of the lies.
Summed it up.
There you go, Chocolate.
That statement summed it up right there, though.
Yeah, but Chocolate,
I
there was
have
a lady.
consensus. I win.
Yeah, there was a lady in chat, and because Nathan wouldn't give her an answer for Auroras, she said, "Then the sphere stands. It's a ball."
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. That was another premature sycamore pollination in the north of England example, right?
She'd rather have a wrong answer than no answer.
It's just
There's a quote. It says, leadership negates consensus. So if you want to be a leader, if you want to think for yourself, then you have to challenge consensus.
Is it that, Kent, or is it that they trust these people so much? Like, because she seemed like she really trusts the so-called scientists, but not even to think that, hey, this doesn't fall under the title of science. This is really more like pseudoscience.
Well, what was versus Conspiracy Cats with that statement? I mean, that guy's supposed to be a teacher, and he's out here running around saying things like, "Well, I've got consensus on my side, so therefore I'm correct."
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the attitude, though, isn't it? When we entered into Steve McRae's to debate about the Isle of Man, that was the opening line. They were asked by Chris, do you believe in a consensus reality? And me stupidly thinking, there's never going to say yes to this. And they said yes. I nearly swallowed my own tongue and went, well, then what hope have we got here? You know, there's more of you.
Wait a second. Right out of the gate, they said yes?
Yes, it was the
Straight
first
out
thing said.
admission of religion, basically.
Yeah, we have a consensus reality. If we all agree that this is how the world is, then that's how the world is.
Wow.
To answer the answer to Neil's question that he posed to me is the lack of leadership. So you have to realize what defines leadership.
I don't know why you're talking about leadership. I don't follow. I don't see that I have to challenge consensus by finding my own way, which is what you implied. I didn't challenge it, but you've now reiterated it. So why should I have to? I mean, I find that my path inevitably does challenge consensus, but I don't feel that I have to, as you implied.
No, you're missing the broader point. For leadership to exist, leadership is not done by consensus. Leadership, if you're going to be a leader, it negates consensus because that's a leader. 10 people, 9, 8 people, 20 people saying, do it this way, do it this way. But a leader steps up and says, no, we're going to do it this way. I've listened to all your pros and cons, and this is what we're going to do based on the information at hand. Now, I'm saying that the type of individual that doesn't fall for consensus-based stuff that these guys are, the ballers, are the ones who lead properly. So you can't lead properly and still believe in consensus. Got to challenge it when it's wrong.
Well, there was a guy in chat, I think it was yesterday, Nathan, or the day before on one of your re-up shows, that said that we believe in a magical frisbee. And 99% of the world does not agree with this magical frisbee. And I just scratched my head. I said, magical frisbee? Doesn't he understand that he thinks he's on a spinning water ball? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, he just doesn't recognise it as a belief. He recognises it as the consensus opinion, which he declared, and then offered up a false dichotomy. So he's got 3 fallacies in one. He's got his false dichotomy, he's got his reification fallacy, and he's got his begging the question fallacy. So he's got all 3 rolled into one big fat shit sandwich for you to swallow. You believe in a frisbee, false dichotomy fallacy, reification fallacy X1, and I've got a heliocentric belief, reification fallacy and begging the question fallacy X2. Well, it's like, okay, you can either unpick that for them and explain how they've just utilised several fallacies to make their statement, but they're only making it so that they can go in peace. It's always projection. People who actually believe what they believe are normally pretty content about it and don't feel the necessity to talk about it with others. And if it comes up, they will. And if it gets to an argument where they don't feel that they want to have one, they'll just walk away from it and go, whatever, I don't care. Because I'm not here to preach to you. I know what I know and don't care what you know. Now, it might be interesting to discuss it, but does that mean that I care? No. But some people, they do. It's like, I can't remember who it was earlier that was like, detailing the guy that left, Paul, I think his name was, or whatever, the guy who was asking about the coin dropping. It's like, now, well, he's going to go away and have to contemplate it. It's like, no, the moment he disconnected, or before he'd even disconnected, I'd already forgotten his name. I can't remember it now, because I don't care. Do I care that he might go away and suddenly have an epiphany? No, I don't care.
He's not having an epiphany right now. He's probably rage throwing shit in his room, calling us stupid.
Yeah, probably. That sounds more likely.
It's interesting when you sit. Go on. Who's that?
I was just saying, I had a couple of days like that when I was a Glober.
Gotcha. It's interesting when you do have a chance, and I think we all have experienced it, talking to a normie about this that isn't going to shut you down right away. I find that if you're part of our panel and the housekeeping questions, just even the top 3 housekeeping questions. In fact, I did that interview on my channel that one time with those workers on my property. That totally proves what I'm about to say. So you say, yeah, I believe the current consensus. So then you go over the current situation and what NASA and everybody tells you, and then you start posing the top 3 housekeeping questions. And oh wow, do you have a point? Oh, I'd have to look into that. And so when they want to talk about it, and you bring in logic, it's like, you know what, you got a point there. And so those are the fun discussions for me, is to find someone like that. If I find them like this coin guy, I just it's just over. There's nothing to be gained there.
I find it very useful, as much as I totally agree with you out in the daytime. On the show, it's fantastic because it holds up a mirror to every clown that watches the show that laughs along and goes, they're just idiots. Or they turn the sound down and just go into the chat. It's like, okay, yeah, for every one of those, you've got this guy in here claiming we're stupid, or the girl doing exactly the same. It's like, well, yeah, you assume we're stupid until you come and have a discussion with us, and then very quickly you humiliate yourselves. It happens all the time.
Well, that's why I said on that one back and forth that you had a show and I went in chat and left a comment. I said, people are laughing at you. And he said in the response chat, who's laughing at me? I don't show me 10 people laughing at me. But yeah, that number is way too low. It's going to be hundreds and thousands of people laughing at you.
It's nervous laughter from the guy and the girl. It's nervous laughter.
Yeah, you can hear it. You hear
Yeah.
it when they start getting really nervous and they
There's
don't
a
know what to
difference.
say.
There's a difference in the laugh. I agree.
Yeah, and then they try and then they try and project it onto you. So she said words to the effect of "I'm laughing in your face," to try and project their pain onto you.
But then she said they're laughing at you. People are laughing at you, Nathan. Who?
Projection.
The people at Gem Pandas?
Yeah, it's projection. So while we're laughing at her for being stupid and demonstrating how stupid she is, and she laughs at us and tells us people are laughing at me. It's just obfuscation and deflection and projection all in one.
You know, I wanted to believe that she was saying that you're using it incorrectly, but she actually didn't think begging the question.
No, she literally thought I'd made up the fallacy of begging the question, i.e. there is no such fallacy. That's what she was asserting. Because in modern terminology, it's not actually used correctly. And as a result, over the, 10-year span, it's now weaseled its way into the dictionary definitions as the incorrect use, which is so prevalent, which is to turn the phrase, that leaves us with the question, that gets paraphrased into, well, that begs the question of. Yeah?
Yes.
Well, that's the incorrect
you're right.
use. So to beg the question isn't to leave you with a question that needs answering. To beg the question is to assume your outcome, but people just use it incorrectly. So when you hear it phrased as a fallacy, you might go, well, I've only ever heard it used in the context of, that begs the question, which tire's better?
We're dealing with the product that was instigated through the television in the early days, which had a different type of programming. And now you have current day programming. And for those of us who have shut down the TV, it's just getting worse and worse because, you catch it every now and then because someone talks about it or you see something on the internet, like a commercial for a show or something. And so everyone is being programmed through that boob tube. And then you meet these people and they can't even make any logic work for them. It's all about the society and the way the society is going, depending on which of those groups of people that you're going to identify with that's being shown through the programming. You can identify with this group or this group or this group, but here's the world and this is the way you got to think, instead of standing outside and saying, something's wrong with that. That's not family-based. That's not this. That's not right. I'm going to challenge it. Very few people are doing that. And so they become a victim of it. And then when they come and talk to us on something they find laughable, because conspiracy, that word has been used against us now. Oh, you're just one of those conspiracy theorists. You just think everything is a conspiracy while they're being controlled by the boob tube. It's the funniest thing.
Well, 10th, the Islanders are in Game 5 tonight. So for me to shut down the telly, I can't be asked.
It's not. It's media, not necessarily the TV. It's propaganda, which is disseminated through many different media formats.
Yeah, my TV is just an ornament at the moment.
I don't have a TV, but
Yeah, like I watched golf yesterday because I'm into golf and I study it, and so I hit mute every time the commercials came on because they were silly. So I'm not talking about you controlling it. I'm more concerned about how it controls people.
Right, but those commercials, a lot of them, you see a lot of these moon-based commercials. Like you see a little girl, 8-year-old girl, getting into a mommy's new electric car, and everything, the dashboard lights up, but she's imagining that she's got an astronaut's helmet on, and she's going to outer space.
Well, I watched a toothpaste commercial the other day, and all of a sudden there's some astronaut in the background coming to help brush the teeth. It's
Exactly.
like, what the hell? What's that even got to do with it?
Yeah, but often the propaganda gets disseminated by the people unwittingly. You know, a lot of people who talk about space and stuff, my kids do it. You know, they're exposed to the propaganda and then they parrot it back to you. Well, that's just effective propaganda. And in terms of the original brainwashing, it's now self-feeding. You know, they don't necessarily... That said, they still have to pump out constant space propaganda from the tip of the iceberg, which is NASA. So without all that space propaganda constantly being disseminated out to the masses from birth, which is when you get the most exposure to it, well, then those people wouldn't go forth to make their video with their dentist ad or toothpaste ad with a spaceman in the background, because they wouldn't have had it brainwashed into them from birth. So the propaganda comes from the people half the time. They don't know it.
Is it a coincidence that I was fascinated in dinosaurs in space as a kid? Is that a coincidence? I don't think so.
No, because that's the two things they propagate more than anything else. Is it any coincidence that quite literally, my kids have literally said those words, Neil? Dinosaurs in space. No, it's not a coincidence. There's even cartoons with it. So, no, not at all. You're going to parrot back what you learned when you were an information sponge in the first few years of your life. You soak it all up like a little sponge. And then you just, then it's hardwired into you for the rest of your natural born life. And that's very effective if you can get the right kind of propaganda in really early. Then that person's a great little worker bee pushing out propaganda. Just by learning the language, if you can get certain words and phraseologies into the language, like atmosphere, people will be disseminating that worldview without even realizing it.
Well, what's music to my ears is that my wife has been telling me that there's a lot of homeschooling moms that are teaching flat earth. They have a curriculum on it, and they're teaching it as the reality.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I wouldn't teach specifically something under the bracket of flat earth. You know, you just teach how things are measured, fine. You know, teach how geography works, fine. Teach them how map works, great. But you don't necessarily have to explicitly say anything. That said, as a father, I find myself fighting against the propaganda because I hear them parroting it. You know, and I have to give them alternatives. So rather than saying, no, Earth's not a sphere, I explain that it's a philosophy of understanding how the lights in the sky work. And then I give her a couple of alternatives. And I say, which do you think it is? Just for ease, I say, well, are they rocks or are they angels? Or are they lions? You know, which do you think? And she's like, I don't know. Right, that's the attitude. Yeah. Perfect. You don't know. Well, maybe one day you'll find out. But this person said it is that. And you're like, well, some people lie. And they do.
I believe
unwittingly.
That's how they're doing it. Nathan, I'm sorry. But I believe that's how they're doing it. They're teaching them, like you said, geography and everything. And then they're saying, like they're comparing it to what they've been taught as a heliocentrist. So I do think they are doing it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what I also try and teach my child how to deduction skills. I'm not trying to teach them specifically what it is, and I give them, like Nathan says, you just give them, why would you think it is this? And then you explain. That's how I teach my child. But I'll still be seen as a child abuser because I don't teach him the globe, though.
Only in the eyes of people in the compound. So it's back to the people inside the compound that you're banging on the walls of, telling you from the inside of the compound that by not teaching the word of heliocentrism, their cult's word, you are abusing your children. Because to every member of that cult, the cult of heliocentrism, if you're not following the ways of heliocentrism, you're the abuser. That's what they believe. It's like, well, what if I don't teach them anything? You're an abuser. You should teach them that the world's moving around the sun. All right. They're just nutters. Accusing you of child abuse because you might teach your kid trivium-based education rather than the comprehensive-based education. That doesn't make you a child abuser. It means you educate your kid.
That's the point. The conversation just needs to happen. There's homeschooling that you're going to take place, but if you're going to have your kids still watching TV, or if they're going to socialize with other kids, then YouTube and all this stuff is going to be talked about. Illuminati, dinosaurs, all these things are still going to come to your children, whether you homeschool them or not, because they're living in the world around them. So the fact of having the conversation to think outside the box, to think for yourself, and if something doesn't sound right, come and ask mom and dad, and let's talk about this. And to feel safe in that environment to ask me anything, and I tell you the truth, because the truth doesn't be told to our kids. But you don't have to feed them flat or just straight up. It could be told, just look, there is no proof of these things. Make sure that there's proof. They're teaching these things, but it doesn't mean it's actually the truth. And the authority at school isn't authority. At the end of the day, the only authority that is for you is mom and dad. And if you talk to your children like that and have the daily conversations with them, it shouldn't be a problem then. You can still have your child in the school system too and understand what the world really is, because the school system is society, it's our life. They're going to have to continue to go through this world. You can't just say, hey, I'm going to keep you from everything in the world. I can homeschool you, but they still have to exist in society. So they're going to have to be awake to all these things. And the school system does teach you some good things, time management, right? You're going to have to work a job, more than likely 9 to 5 or something, until things change in the world. But the conversations need to start happening more with these children, and they're not happening because parents are too damn busy and not worried about their children.
Well, I don't think it's that. I mean, they get exposure to it. Homeschooling is just, I don't want them to learn the education system. Once they said that they started teaching evolution. So my wife pulled them out and started teaching them. She started out with a Christian curriculum. Now I don't know what she's doing. But yeah, they're in the world. They see everything. But what stumps them all is, how do you have gas pressure without a container? They understand that.
I was just about to say that. What the benefit you've got with children is that they've not already been pre-indoctrinated. Whereas it's hard enough describing to adults about relative density the first time they come to see it. They're like, what? And then the gas pressure point, they've got an equal and opposite argument, which is gravity, right? But if you don't know that gravity is not a force, and you know that science tells you it's the bending of space-time, which we don't even get taught in school, then you're going to be indoctrinated, right? Because you're going to think that the gravity is the explanation. And it's by hiding the alternative explanation is where the indoctrination is. But if you tell a child that this topic's contentious, that everybody thinks that they understand it, and it's the current position in the world today by consensus, but it's contentious, they're going to say, why is it contentious? And then you can start talking to them and say, well, some people think this and some people think that. The two opposing positions, and the science is on this side because it supports this argument. There is no science for this argument. And then the child starts critically analysing and thinking, which we didn't get the benefit of when we were in school. But the children of today can, but we need to teach them it.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!